The last few days have been incredibly important for Tesla investors. Elon Musk, Ashok Goswami, and several other Tesla executives made many new announcements. First, Tesla dropped full self-driving version 14.2 and launched it wide. This was a big update with now an updated neural network vision encoder. Early testers are raving about it. Elon Musk teased that version 14.3 will be the last piece of the puzzle. Second, Tesla AI executive Lutz had a warning for legacy automakers, saying the most likely way for them to survive is to either make vehicles for autonomous vehicle companies, or they'll have to scale back big time. Third, Tesla is hiring AI distillation engineers to compress larger models into smaller ones. This is a great sign for Tesla owners with AI3 cars. Fourth, Elon Musk made a long post explaining that most people don't know Tesla has had an advanced AI chip and board engineering team for many years and has already deployed several million AI chips, and that's why Tesla is a leader in real-world AI. Shockingly, he said he expects to build chips at higher volumes than all other AI chips combined. Jeff Lutz with us today. He's a multi-decade supply chain executive and chief quality officer. He's now CEO of his own supply chain consulting firm. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Herbert. Yeah, things are heating up going into Thanksgiving. Tesla's not slowing down. The news isn't slowing down. The progress isn't slowing down for sure.
Yeah, I think we saw a barrage of posts, announcements by the Tesla executives. Like, they were all out in force, all over the place. I tried to grab as many as I can that were most important. But the big thing is we made huge progress on autonomy. And we've got version 14.2 dropped this weekend, and it's now, I think, 25% of version 14 users, or FSD users, are actually on 14.2 now. Dan Berkland said, here's what's new. According to the release notes, it's this new paragraph. It said, upgraded the neural network vision encoder, leveraging higher resolution features to further improve scenarios like handling emergency vehicles, obstacles on road, and human gestures. This is the ability for the vision cameras to actually see more and more clarity, so it can see further. It can understand scenarios like emergency vehicles, obstacles on the road, and human gestures. This is the rest of the actual note. So when David Olson gave this, he said, feels to me this is the refinement we've been waiting for. All of my driving was very smooth, no brake issues. I drove through heavy construction, parking lots, highways, no issues at all related to the braking. We did run into a problem where the car got stuck trying to leave the parking lot. This is a problem that a larger context would likely fix. Elon replied to him, and he said, 14.3 is where last big piece of the puzzle finally lands. And just quickly, let's go there. What do you think, Jeff? I mean, this is, what's your interpretation of this new release?
Well, I mean, let's just rewind back. The release notes say better resolution to handle human gestures. I mean, we were talking about this a couple of months ago. Is FSD recognizing police, or somebody directing traffic, waving me in, or the drive-through window, and the answer is yes. Maybe the resolution wasn't there, but the core platform and the capability was there. Now they're honing in and making it useful and accurate. This is wild. I mean, this is, if you look at all the things in your house, if you look at all the things outside of your house, if you look at everything you interact with at work, and you try to pull it all in the context, and which of these objects or which of these things are actually energized or have real artificial intelligence. And the answer is honestly zero. Now you can start saying, well, these chatbots and the LLMs, and there's some semblance to that. There's some reasoning involved. I don't think the accuracy rate's anywhere near the number of decisions and controls that FSD is doing. If you look at the number of decisions and controls that FSD is doing in your car, it's millions, and it's doing it at very, very, very high percentage accuracy, where the control outcome is good. If you compare that to the output of LLMs, they're getting better, but sometimes you are getting just not helpful output. So just put that in context, like in your life. If you own a Tesla, and certainly in the world of physical devices that are actually in the world and not a stationary desktop, it's the only thing out there. I was trying to understand. I was trying to think like what could be a number two. I can't think of what's number two in terms of AI, call it energized or capable products to what Tesla is doing here. So this is unbelievable. Like this jump in 14 is going to basically allow it to cross the chasm of it's good enough for mom. It's good enough for, the wife test. It's good enough for, a number of different things. It's crossed over into that. And now we're into this whole world of, okay, we're going to get reasoning in 14.3. We're going to get all these other things that we've been thinking through. It just feels like a major unlock occurred with version 14.
I like the way you compared it to the LLMs or the chats, the GPTs. I had a family member this weekend and explaining to her that this car drove us everywhere, and the easiest way to explain her is it's AI. This is AI that's learned how to drive, just like you see the AI that you're talking to. So this car on Friday, Gally and I drove, the car drove us from Seattle to Portland, all over Portland, a totally new state, right? Drove us back to Seattle. The next day, I went to Vancouver, Canada. It drove us all over Vancouver. Both are about 3 hours away. Came back, and the next day, it drove us all over Seattle. So this, as far as I'm concerned, this is robotaxi here in Portland, Vancouver, Canada, and Seattle. Perfect.
And this is what's different than other robotaxi services. Other robotaxi services, I have to enter into an urban environment in a downtown area and request access for this thing. And the difference with Tesla is while the average price of a vehicle since 2018 has gone up $10,000, what's Tesla done is take their average selling price down that amount, if not more, over that time period. So they're making their product more accessible, but they're making it far more capable than anything else out there. And your example of being in 3 states in 2 different countries in a very small time period, you would never be able to do that with another product. Yeah. So Tesla will offer that urban solution if you don't want to own a car. And it looks like they're going to offer a rental solution if you don't want to own a car, but you want your own car for a day or 2 days or some period of time. It feels like they're just covering the entire gamut of consumer preference. And at some point, there's going to be this tipping point. It may already be happening behind the scenes, and it's hard to assess because we're 2 people out of millions, but the data will show that at some point the tipping point will occur. And it's going to be a hard thing to predict.
Oh, I think we are seeing the tipping point. Okay, so let's continue here. Joe did a good job explaining all the recent releases. So if version 14 was launched in October of this year, a month later, they launched 14.1.7. Second half of November now, where we got 14.2. He's now estimating, if you look at this October, November, that maybe 14.3 will land in December, the same year. Phil Basel posted this, 14.2, the 7th release of version 14. And then he gave the paragraph we just read. I think there's more packed in there. And Yun Tasai said speed of iteration, right? You've been talking about that. That's what you should be tracking is the speed of iteration. And then given its rapid pace, the update seems small, yet probably more work than most realize. And Yun Tasai said, this is not a small update. And Elon replied saying, indeed, nor is 14.3. So it's not just a speed of iteration. These are not small updates. They are big, giant things that have been, restructured, a whole new neural net, much more clarity, decisions making, planning, all that.
The other thing that's happened, Herbert, is the releases used to go out to 3 and Y, and then right. S and X at some other period of time, and then Cybertruck was weeks or maybe even more than a month later. Now, yesterday right. I got 14.2 on my X and my Cybertruck within an hour of each other.
Yeah.
So that's accelerating.
Yeah.
That's accelerating.
That shocked me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was shocking because, Cybertruck is like a totally different kind of vehicle. And why would you do the 14.2 there first? I was like, yeah, I guess they unified it to any vehicle structure. They
They
can
no,
adapt quickly.
they've figured in their component in their build process and software, they have figured out that layer now. I think it took some time for Cybertruck,
Hmm.
and I think they have it figured out. And I think there's a lot of work that went into to be able to do that. So you have the speed of iteration, so you have the releases coming faster, you have more content in those releases, which means they've figured out their testing process and their ability to sanity test these things and then quality gate test these things in their process in a way. And it looks like there's just fewer bugs. So they're generating
Mm,
better software
mm,
in the process. So this is
mm,
all of these things are. It's not just one thing. Accelerate. It's not like they're just getting more in the release, or it's not that they're just giving us more iterative releases of things that aren't that great. There's more in the releases. They're coming at higher frequency, and their ability to deploy the releases is much faster. So I mean, this is getting scary in terms of what
what?
they may be able to
Yeah.
do.
What's your interpretation of when Elon says 14.3 is the last piece of the puzzle?
Well, I've always talked about the traditional term of feature complete of you're building software, you're building a product. One of the first things you want to do, as you know, in product is define what you're building. And then once you define what you're building, you can define the development process, the engineering, the testing, and so forth. And it feels like reasoning, the ability to have more in-depth reasoning
Mm,
at the inference
mm,
level has been one of those final pieces to come into place that really, I mean, the car is already at 14.2 and even 14.17 and one. It's already, you can feel it's already
mhm.
making decisions. I had it sitting to make a left turn on a busy street, and it was sitting there for a while, and the traffic just wouldn't subside. So it just my blinker changed in my car. My blinker changed from turning left to turning right, and the car said, "I'm just going to turn
Mm.
right and then do a U-turn." I
Wow.
mean, what is that?
Wow. It read your mind.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think you read my. It's like, all right, well, if it's taking this long and this, it just
Yeah.
you can. I can probably get this person from point A to point B faster by
Yeah.
just getting a right and doing a U-turn. So it's constantly thinking. So I think when people get into FSD and they use it on chill and they use it on standard, and all of a sudden they see what it's doing in hurry and Mad Max. It's not that it's just going to replace your driving. It's driving better. It's like I'm not in the center of the lane as much as FSD is now. I'm not
Hmm.
making those lane changes that FSD is doing because you know what? I don't want to expend all that effort all the time looking in my mirrors trying to find if I've got myself in the right lane. I just want to like sometimes my energy level or my concentration, I don't want to do that. But FSD's never tired. It's never
Hmm.
unfocused. It's never had a cocktail. Like all these things are really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. There's a road called Granville in Vancouver, and it's a very long road and it's very busy. Two lanes this way and two lanes back, and it's so busy. And so you want to be on the left lane to be a little bit more faster. But the people will then turn left. But if one person decides to turn left in front of you, you're going to get stuck there because it's hard for you to get to the right lane again because you're just so busy. This car so brilliantly saw way down the line that this one car, you can see the blinker turn on and about to go, and it quickly moved to the right already. So it knew that that's the way to drive this is get back to the left lane. But if you see somebody turning any moment, get to the right lanes fast. I was like, whoa, good job. All right, we got quite a bit here to cover still. This is Brian Wang explaining what he saw with 14.2. There's a lot of these posts now, and it's generally very positive by most users. You and I both have 14.2 now. So 14.3 should fix the biggest remaining blockers for true door-to-door robotaxis. That's what he thinks it is. Parking position, close quarters maneuvering, drive-throughs, exact curb pull-up, longer planning memory and context window to avoid looping or repeated failed paths. That seems to be a problem, the looping part. The core driving quality already looks good enough for geofence unsupervised operation in many cities. And then he gave this nice table of how 14.2 has improved or even slightly regressed. Just one part. Okay, I'll pause it here if you guys want
nice.
to. It's a nice table.
Yeah, no, it's nicely done by Brian. And Tesla looks at these things. I wanted to say a comment on sentiment, and this isn't talked about a lot. Major companies that make consumer products, and again, I've been a chief quality officer at a couple of them. One of the things that I would tell you, like behind the scenes, it may or may not be surprising, but when I explain the mechanics of it, I think you'll find it interesting. So those reviews that you see in Amazon reviews, Google reviews, and so forth. So not only, so there's AI now at this point in time, there's AI out there reading these things, and there's web scraping tools that are going out for on behalf of each of these companies. They either code it up themselves or they buy software that helps them measure the sentiment of their product. So I wouldn't be surprised with all the dashboards you see in the Tesla AI engineering room about how the cars are performing, all the data, which is of critical performance. I've always said, like, and we can talk later at some point about FSD tracker and all that, but that's a data point. Tesla has all these data points of the thousands of cars out there, but my guess is they can go out on X or Google and on the web, the quote unquote, the web. So they can go on X and they can go on the rest of the internet and they can scrape for sentiment. Mm-hmm. And what you can do is look at the sentiment around anything version 14 and higher is off the charts. And they measure that percent. They measure percent positive, percent neutral, percent negative. And they could see it in the data from going from V12, the versions of 12 to 13, and now to 14. I'm sure they can see a major improvement in sentiment. And that is part of the equation for when you start making decisions like going wide with robotaxi. I'm not saying it's, we're going to just do this based off of sentiment, but it's part of how the public feels about your product. And there's pass-fail criteria. Do I want to return it or not? But there's also this softer layer under it you need to understand, which is what is the sentiment, positive versus negative versus neutral. And they're looking at the negatives too. The negatives are getting smaller, but they're there and they're really helpful for the Tesla AI team to figure out, okay, we have to figure out, we still on 14.2, we've got mapping issues. We've got parking lot issues. And we've got things, these are the things we have to work through. It's such a huge accelerant because when you're in the development stages of a product, you only have a couple of dozen developers, and then maybe you've got 100 or 500 employees that you release it to as a quality gate. But when you put something out to 10,000 people or 50,000 people, you get a lot better resolution of data. So in summary, I think they're using this sentiment tracking as an input to decision making. Scrape the web, scrape X, figure out percent positive, neutral, negative, and also figure out constructively what are those things that they need to go after. And so I think that all the data and all the posts are helpful.
Yeah, it's accelerant. The Tesla AI engineer Yunta Sai actually did say, we actually do read. Please, when, for example, when you have an issue and you disengage and then you press the button on a microphone and you record something, he said, we actually do read that. Please do that. And then what you said, which is an accelerant, because if they have a problem, let's say the looping issue, they can just ask the AI to go find me all the times that a user said this. And then now all of a sudden they've got that data. They can parse through it and then figure out what the problem is or the different scenarios that it's occurring. Okay.
Yeah.
This next segment, Jeff, I really want your opinion on this. It's a big one. We finally have a Tesla engineer, Yunta Sai, warning legacy automakers, you better get your act together. He said this, having chatted with friends at other autonomous vehicle vendors, so not just Tesla, but the other ones as well, it seems the most likely way for the legacy car OEMs to survive is they have to either make autonomous vehicles for the AV companies, right? So partner with Tesla, partner with Waymo, partner with, Zoox, or they will have to scale back their manufacturing capacity. There are already several hints that this is happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this guy says, for the tech companies, it is cheaper to build on their own than use these legacy manufacturers. So that's Tesla and Waymo and the others. They can just probably build it themselves instead of partnering with that. Yeah.
Well, that's not true.
Thinking?
But anyway,
okay.
I don't know where he gets that from. But so first off, the price of something is whatever somebody is willing to pay. So to say that just unilaterally that a Zoox can start up and build a car cheaper than GM is not, that's not correct. Now, if your time horizon is 10 years or your time horizon is 5 years, well, maybe. But if you're talking about unique cars this year and next year, I don't know if that's necessarily the right answer. But yeah, Youngtan Tsai, his conclusion, I mean, we've been talking about this for the last year or two. It's happened with just EV minus autonomy, which is the legacy auto could not figure out how to make an EV profitably. And the announcements were going out, we're building this capacity, we're adding this, because the prior administration was just helicoptering money in for anything related to clean energy and EV and biased a lot of, and you know what, if you're into clean energy and EVs, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But one of the problems with helicoptering that money in is it wasn't discriminate in terms of like, is my return on giving a loan or a grant to Ford and GM for an equitable EV future, which is how some of the grants were actually titled, versus giving $1 to Tesla or $1 to Rivian? Like, what are the various? I don't think the administration was discriminant on that. It was like, are you union or not? So that was just a complete disaster. Like, it potentially the right decision around EVs versus ICE, that was good, but the execution below it, terrible. So now we're in this situation where I think that played out with EV. They all tried it. They couldn't build it profitably. They made a bunch of announcements so they can drive value into their stock and drive investors into their stock. And now what they're going to do is a small subset of what they've announced over the past couple of years. And the media does not hold them accountable for that. The media just says, well, people don't like EVs. This is how talking points, this is like Capitol Hill politics. It's okay. The talking points that went out from the EV, from the auto and the lobbying firms are people don't prefer EVs, and we're going to give people what they prefer. So that's what happened on EV. So now the conversation is around autonomy. And what autonomy is going to do is it's going to narrow that debate, and it's going to make it where you can't sit on the fence anymore. You can't be I'm going to build some hybrids, or I'm going to do this or that. It's going to blow. What Tesla is doing to the price per mile, whether you want to buy your car, whether you want to rent a car or lease it, or whether you want to just get into a robotaxi and be driven, they are going to force everybody off the fence. And you're either going to be on the right side of it or the wrong side of it. And these companies that haven't been building up their compute capability, have not been building up their AI capability, have not taken any of this seriously, just going out and doing acquisitions, letting them go off and then figuring out if it works or not. This is the difference between, look at the decisions that Tesla and Elon made along the way around vision, around how their cars are designed, around safety. Look at all the decisions. And you can say, okay, well, that didn't work with it. But Tesla was innovating, engineering, iterating, failing quickly, going on to the next thing, but just going up and to the right. And these other companies, it's not clear that they were being properly technically led. So I think he's right. I think this is going to expose a lot of companies very soon over the next year or two.
Jeff, do you think that there's been incremental improvement, let's just call it that, from 12 to 13, 13 to 14? We saw it, but just the general public will go, yeah, there's problems still. But with 14.2, okay, maybe 14.3, when that drops, it's like pretty well the world is waking up going, oh God, they solved it. Do you think that legacy automakers are going to or are now having these board meeting executives like, hey guys, I have to call it emergency meeting because they've solved it? Or do you think that they're still going to continue? Like this is nothing because they're still just so incremental?
Well, I think Elon has said it well. It's going to turn into, the opportunity is going to turn into, well, this is just not fair anymore. And, and
Yeah.
so yes, they're having the meetings, and there's an economic model. There's definitely economic models being run at these companies of like, do I go in this direction or that direction? What's happened over the last year is they tried another media campaign to say that safety equals LiDAR. That was the other media campaign.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
that is going to fail because there are incidents with LiDAR. There are holes with LiDAR. And what Tesla's been doing is saying, look, we're just going to make something that bumps into things less times per million than human driving, than any other option. And we're just going to stay focused on that. And we're going to solve that through compute scaling in our AI engineering effort. And that is going to pay off. And we're seeing the early pieces of it. You're right, and we're right. I mean, 14 is not, everything is not 100% done. And we do have bias as Tesla owners who have been on FSD since version 10. We have this bias of every new release is the best thing we've ever tested because, quite frankly, that's been mostly the case. But now what's happening is the gap between that and it's done are narrowing. And when I say that, I mean you're starting to get onto one hand. Like, what are the use cases that FSD 14.2 cannot do? And that list used to be a lot longer in 13 around emergency vehicles and this and that.
Yeah.
And now it's more like, okay, all the capability and the framework's there, and now they just have to tweak it. And I think this 14.3 reasoning is going to go a long way. But they're in the boardrooms of these companies, they have a decision in front of them. Because again, what's going to happen is more than just autonomy. It's going to be the price per mile is going to really come into focus. All they've done is the average price of a car in the US is now $50,000. That's the average. And if you sit in one of those cars now, if you go to a dealership, go to a GM dealership or Ford dealership, and you really question yourself, like, okay, what capability does this car really have that's different from 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And you really got to question yourself. And finally, just one more example, the smartphone example. I've said this multiple times. You could take an iPhone 12 and an Android from 5 or 6 years ago, and you can load them with today's software. And you're not going to find a huge difference in performance or capability. But if you look at what Tesla has done with autonomy and their vehicles and the capability of their vehicles over that same time frame, the rate of innovation, the amount of innovation is mind-boggling. And these smartphone companies have many tens of billions of dollars of R&D effort. So there's going to be a wake-up call. It's probably already happening. It's not going to be some event.
Yeah.
And these companies will be forced into a decision through economics.
I think they're obviously now it's getting closer to them having to make this decision.
But
we have two.
There's going to be a fairly, I would say, violent disinformation campaign. So get ready, because when it's very clear to them that it's almost unfair, this is when you're going to have people doing all kinds of weird things, trying to run themselves into robotaxis and walk into them and drive cars. Like,
right.
I'm not trying to give anybody. I mean, you're going to have all these, and these cars are equipped to take all this data and handle it. And also the first report from the field of, there's an accident with a Tesla robot. 9 times, I'm going to say 99 times out of 100, the robotaxi won't be at fault, but it would be part of an accident. So it's just going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Okay, we got two more bigger stories, important ones. So first of all, Tesla's hiring AI distillation engineers to compress large models into smaller ones that can run on the inference hardware in cars. So this does certainly look like what this is taking the large model, which is version 14.2 in the hardware 4 cars, to be able to run real time on the hardware 3 cars. So for the people that are waiting with hardware 3 cars, it is actually starting to happen. And then, by the way, a friend of mine talked to Ashok Laswamy directly at the event a couple weeks ago, and he told him, we're not going to forget about hardware 3 cars, and that hardware 3 cars can be used for robotaxi. That was the words that he told him. And you said, AI 3 Squad, here, unlock the spice for these 4 million cars. Very easy business case. And you go ahead and tell me the words you're using. Yeah, what did you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 3.5 to 4 million AI3 cars out there. And I think the way Tesla looks at it is they wanted to figure it out. And when I say by it, they wanted to solve autonomy. It looks like they're on the putting green right now with version 14.x. Now, the fun part of it, if you're an engineer, like one of the fun things you want to do, it's like Apollo 13, like we have to figure out how to get this thing back and just get everybody into a conference room and figure out how are we going to solve this through engineering. Engineering at some point blurs the line between, physics and magic. I think they really want to figure this out. So this is them staffing up for that too, which is like, okay, we need people to come in. I don't want to use the word hack. I want people are going to come in and figure out how to get something that runs, in this much larger, more capable system onto a system that may still be the best driving computer out there outside of AI4. It may be just the second best driving computer, and they just needed the time and the engineering hours to figure out how to get that running in that computer. But their confidence to me tells me A, that they're determined, and B, that they see a path. I don't think they would just be saying it just to say it. I actually really believe that they see a path. And so for all the hardware 3 or AI3 owners out there, to see them, posting these requisitions, first off, they don't have to post the requisitions to do this work. My guess is they have experienced engineers inside doing this work, but the fact that they're augmenting it feels like they may be onto something. So I think the message is Tesla, this is important to Tesla. They want to figure it out. I think the CFO is still driving a hardware 3 car, which is, by the way, very CFO-like to drive drive the most economically, balanced solution. So I think they're serious about it, and I think they're going to figure it out. The question is, what are the checkpoints and how will we know? So I think there's more coming for hardware 3. Tesla's investing in it, and they're serious about it.
The other thing is a third thing is the signal that actually it means that Tesla feels like their full self-driving is near complete. If it's near complete for the hardware 4 cars, okay, now we're ready. Let's go figure out how we put into hardware 3 cars. It's not going to be this other big thing they need to still continue to add for 14.
Hey, by the way, Herbert, one thing that people need to understand on hardware 3 is this isn't a charity thing where please Tesla, figure this out. We hope you figure it out for us. We need it. Tesla wants to figure this out. They're incentivized. If there's 4 million cars out there, they want the FSD subscription revenue, and they want them to be robotaxis, and they want their customers to be happy. They want their customers to be happy. There's no question about it, because they want them to buy the next Tesla. So this whole thing of like, does Tesla care about hardware 3? I think it's a gigantic priority for them. The fact that there's up to 4 million of those cars out there, it's a huge economic opportunity. It's a huge customer sat opportunity for Tesla that they will not just let swing by the wayside.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, this big segment could have been its own show. I could have started with the show, but I thought it made sense putting it here. But basically, Elon made this major announcement on the weekend. He said most people don't know Tesla has an advanced AI chip and board engineering team for many years. The team has already designed and deployed several million AI chips in our cars and data centers. These chips are what enable Tesla to be the leader in real world AI. The current version of cars is AI 4. We're close to taping out AI 5 and are starting work on AI 6. Our goal is to bring a new AI chip design to volume production every 12 months. That's incredible. We expect to build chips this is the major sentence. We expect to build chips at higher volumes ultimately than all other AI chips combined. Then he said, read that sentence again, as I'm not kidding. Okay, so these chips will profoundly change the world in positive ways, saving millions of lives due to safer driving, providing advanced medical care to all people via Optimus. So clearly he's talking about every bot, every car, anything that is autonomous will need a chip. And he's talking about a terafab to kind of power it, but he's building the AI 5 chips, and they're going to do as many as they can. They'll partner with any company. But this part about we expect to build chips at higher volumes than all other chips combined, I mean, that means maybe more chips than NVIDIA. And so he's asking people to apply. So if you are an engineer that really wants to be part of this historic situation, please apply to be the part of the chip design. He said, for what it's worth, I'm deeply involved in the chip design and meet with the engineering team every Tuesday and Saturday. So you have direct access to him, and you know you're going to do incredible work. The Saturday meetings are short term and will no longer be needed in a few months when AI5 is taped out. Jeff, you said engineering and manufacturing love clear goals, best performance, useful features, and value per dollar. Before I have you respond, just let me complete this. Ashok Swami said this, not to mention these chips are heavily co-designed with Tesla AI software teams to achieve incredible performance while also beating by a large margin on performance per watt and performance per dollar. For instance, AI4 can process and understand 1 million pixels of streaming video within 1 millisecond. What? This is only achievable because the software and hardware are designed together to achieve this performance point. There's no in between. It's just connection, like pixel direct to action, right? And then Julian, another executive for AI at Tesla, said the latency of our autopilot computer, which is used by both Optimus and FSD, photon hitting the sensor, to it being processed by the neural net chip, extremely low. Everything is optimized. Everything is hardware accelerated as much as possible. No software stack overhead. Minimal image processing overhead. This is why FSD stack is so reactive. This matters a lot for Optimus when you close the loop with vision. So this is a big, huge value proposition, competitive differentiator, because it's not just that they have their chips, it's that the chips were designed with the software purposely so that it's immediate, less than 1 millisecond action. If you have a partnership with, all NVIDIA's chips and your software and then somebody else's hardware, and then they have to all act like that, there's latency, and that latency matters for the bot and it matters for the cars. Yeah, big announcement there, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, if we go in reverse on the computer and then the software hardware co-development, that is unique to Tesla. We always talk about vertically integrated supply chain. This is vertically integrated engineering, and it gives you that edge all the way from the engineer in the reliability lab figuring out what response time is needed for airbag deployment or a particular aspect of in crash testing and sensing of it, to that chip, the chip design team. The reliability engineer can literally walk in and meet with the chip design team, and they have that conversation together. You don't have that occurring between an NVIDIA and the 80 companies that are sampling their chip. What you will get from NVIDIA on their chip and their computer is something that is very good and a reference design that everybody needs to adhere to. But what Tesla will do is Tesla will get a generation ahead of them by this co-design. So they'll get lower latency. They'll get better performance. They'll get better power consumption because they have everybody at the table at the same time with the same goal of trying to get, whether it's tokens or wherever you want to describe it, but value token per dollar per and per watt output. Basically, it's like the highest efficiency, least amount of energy to generate the most amount of control output out of the computer. So Ashok talks about the co-work between his software development and the hardware teams. Julian talks about the computer development and low latency and the whole system he's basically talking to. And then Elon talks about, he used the word chip design and board engineering. He did that for a reason, because there are companies that design chips and there's companies that design AI computers, and then there's companies that do the end product. In this case, the robot on wheels, the vehicle, or an Optimus. And by Tesla doing all of them together, engineering all of them together, they get that vertically integrated edge where there's one person setting all the priorities and then everything else has to fall in line. And what you get is you get the best product, you get it on the best schedule because you don't have that latency between teams of like, well, what do they want? Or they may want this or that. The board engineering thing is interesting. I think he just wants to remind people that Tesla, not only do most people, I would say if you went on the street and said, is Tesla like NVIDIA? Do they design inference chips? I would probably say 95% plus of the people don't know that. And that's on Tesla, Elon, and the management team. They have to solve that. They need to continue to get that awareness out. And the board engineering side of it is we take this from a chip to a computer to the actual end product, and we do the whole thing together. There's so much involved with building the computer. You have to think about heat and thermal. You have to think about power consumption. You have to think about how this thing is mechanically encased and affixed in the car. You have to think about liquid ingress. You have to think about all the different conditions. And what Tesla can do is they can think about all those conditions and make design decisions around the storage temperature of my silicon. Well, what's it going to be? Like they can do all of that concurrently together, that it's not happening in separate buildings. So with risk of repeating myself, this is probably the most, if you're thinking about it from an investment thesis or just Tesla's marketing position, this gives, and as more of the AI workload goes from training to inference, this positions Tesla to have NVIDIA-like capability, making the best vehicle in terms of feature value. There's nobody making an EV more profitably than Tesla. And you put those two together. Now you take that same recipe, say, I'm going to do this on the bot. And the bot is going to be many billions. Like the bot is going to put not only auto volume to shame, it's going to put the biggest prize in the world right now in smartphone, the 1.3 billion a year smartphone, to shame. And this is why he's going out and he's trying to get all this capacity. Even if he doesn't build the terafab, everybody that he's negotiating a deal with between this day for 2025 all the way up into that fab being operational, let's say it's 4 or 5 years from now, he's going to get a better deal out of it because he's put himself in the game in multiple ways. One is, I'm going to build alongside of you, partner. I still need everything you have, but I'm going to build alongside of you because I can't let you bottleneck me on supplier cost. And he's starting the flywheel of like, the demand is going to be so high, I have to make this huge capital investment so to make sure that I'm not bottlenecked. And so that gets them thinking of like, okay, this isn't just like Sam Altman coming in and asking for $7 trillion of fab investment because he's going to do all these wonderful products. This is somebody who has actually delivered like an entire industry of products and rockets and so forth, and come in and saying, I think it's going to be here. And it may be plus or minus this, that's fine. But I'm going to have to trigger and build my own fab because I don't think you can give me enough. So that starts the feeding frenzy at the silicon level between a TSMC, a Samsung, a Global Foundries, anybody that'll give them capacity. Then that precipitates all the way down in the rest of the supply base. Everybody will be fighting for this business. Now, Tesla has to deliver. Optimus version 3 has to deliver. The next set of cars have to deliver. Autonomy has to deliver. This is why Elon says a tremendous amount of execution is needed. But when they do, all this stuff would have been set. It won't be the classic thing of like, oh my God, I don't have supply. He's doing all the hard work now. He's sitting in the chip design meetings to get that chip design to be more efficient from a cost perspective and a capability perspective. He's doing all the hard work now around capacity planning. This is what you want in a CEO.
Well said, Jeff. Thank you for all of that. Yeah, I think this is a massive competitive advantage for Tesla, and I like the way you position it at the early part of your explanation. It's about latency, right? It's latency not only in the hardware, software kind of departments that they have in order to make progress, movement to create the best product in the world, but it's latency for how quick the photons come in and actions come out. It's like, what do you want? Don't you want the smartest math genius in the world, the fastest athlete in the world, the fastest gamer in the world, how quickly they can react when a situation happens and they can plan ahead and decide? I want that. And that will decide who is the best real world AI, the best bot and the best cars. The latency of the departments and then the latency of that. Well said. Thank you, Jeff. Follow Jeff on his X account at the Jeff Lutz. Lots that we covered here today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.